Good day, mamas. Today we have with us a little bit of a different guest. I have Wade Lightheart here. Wade, thank you so much for coming out to join us today.
Great to be here. I'm a new dad recently, so I'm excited to be talking about this topic.
So, Wade is a three-time Canadian natural bodybuilding champion, one of the world's premier authorities on natural nutrition and training methods. Having majored in sports science at the University of New Brunswick, he has authored numerous books on health, nutrition, and exercise, which have sold in over 80 countries. He is sought out by athletes and high performance oriented individuals worldwide for his advice on how to optimize their health and fitness levels. Um, so I was thinking, you have a bodybuilding background, is that correct?
Well, Matt and I, who started our company by Optimizers, we were both started personal training, and I had a bodybuilding career. He was training high performance athletes. A large percentage of the clients I trained were actually moms and females,
Oh, fascinating.
and so I have a literally, in fact, I would say there was more women that I coached than actually men. They tend to take instructions better and are great clients. So I'm well versed in the topic and some of the challenges that women face, especially with the pressure of being a new mom and everything that goes along with it.
So tell us about part of the reason we're recording this interview is to support moms who are struggling with anger. We all
Mhm.
we all of us lose our temper sometimes. Some of us definitely are feeling like it happens a little too much. So will you tell us a little bit? I'm most familiar with your product, the Magnesium Breakthrough. I know it's been a game changer for me. How did you come to start supplements and start this product? I think your story might be relevant.
Yeah, so I've worked in every single aspect of the nutrition industry, from product formulation to being a representative to owning my own nutritional shop. So I got the ins and outs of the supplement industry. And when Matt and I began our business 21 years ago, we decided that we would produce premium-based products that actually did what they said they did, and we backed it up with a 100% guarantee. In other words, if someone purchased a product from us and it didn't achieve what they wanted, we just give them their money back, because we thought that's the standard that allows people to, be very careful and conscientious about putting their hard-earned money towards something. And because of our collective experience in that, we just sought out the best and brightest, whether that was neuroscience, microbiology science, you name it, genetics, and starting addressing the needs that we felt that we could fill a gap in the marketplace that would really profoundly impact people. Because years ago, we fell in love with transforming people's lives. And turns out those policies, although are suboptimal for starting a company from a profit margin, are certainly long-standing, and now we're one of the premier supplement companies in the world, one of the fastest growing companies in the world, highly education based, with almost like a cult-like following for products like magnesium because of its impact, particularly on the central nervous system, neurochemistry, and both Matt and I have an extensive amount of research in neurophysiology and brain chemistry, and then emotional regulations and how that works. In fact, my wife, who just recently had a child, is taking her PhD in psychology. And so we share a lot of passions in this and the interactions that happen. And it doesn't matter how intellectually aware you might be of, say, a suboptimal emotion. The fact that you're feeling it and still have to manage that can almost be even more frustrating when you know that I shouldn't be this way, but why am I this way? And there's some great research that determines how we perceive the world. And there's an element that goes to your amygdala center, which is your emotional center.
Mhm.
And then that can, if a person is in a stressed out state, what's going to happen is your emotional center is going to hijack your prefrontal cortex. So rather than being rational, reasonable, and sensible, which we all can be in a perfect optimal state, the elements of having a child and the demands that are continually put, the oftentimes suboptimal sleep conditions, there may be financial pressures, there's also baby regulation areas, there's self-image elements that are coming into. All of these are pushing onto that amygdala center, which it
Mhm.
controls our rest and relax and our fight or flight. And
Mhm.
when a person is in a chronic stress, a perception of stress, no matter how much that might be actual versus perceived, it's the perception that determines the response of the body. And in a chronic fatigue state where you don't have enough nutrients, you don't have enough sleep, you have all these external pressures, you're trying to manage these kids and all the other things that go along with life.
And I've
Simply
given
what
all my
happened.
yeah, and I've given all my nutrition to this baby that I just birthed and that I'm still nursing, right? Like life
Correct.
no stores.
Correct. So you have you have a biochemical drain, you have a physiological drain because of your inability to get that. And then on top of that, you have the external management of
Yeah.
children, which is extremely challenging to say the least. All of those leads to a chronic state of overwhelm and incapacity to manage what should be a manageable situation if you were fully resourced. So the stress models that are put out today in psychology world is it's not just the amount of stress that you're experiencing, it is the reserve from which you can respond to that stress. I'll give you a quick example. I like UFC fighting. Now, if you were to take me into a UFC ring and put me in there with a professional, I wouldn't last 10 seconds. Why? Because I don't have the neurophysiological capacity, the skill, the ability in order to handle what's coming at me. You take another professional walks into that's been experienced for this for 20 years, same impact, but that person's capacity to manage those attackers or to manage these things is much better. So the perceived level of stress allows them to access the skill level. So you may be a very skillful, well-adjusted person maybe for most of your life, and then all of a sudden you have a child situation, maybe there's an issue inside of the family with a partner or a financial thing or family stress externally, or there's so many different pressure points.
Right.
All of this eats away, and eventually that reserve, your capacity to meet demands, is diminished. And anger should be looked at from both a perception element, but it also should be looked at a physiological element. And I actually went through one of those situations myself. I was in an unregulated state a number of years ago. I was pushing the end of the angle. I was running 3 different businesses, traveling the world. I was managing a tremendous amount of stress and elements that came in. And I was taking all my vitamins and supplements. I mean, I own a supplement company. I do all the biohacking, genetic, like everything you could possibly imagine. And I did a brain test, a neurophysiology test, because I noticed I wasn't able to regulate my emotions. I was getting angry really quickly. I couldn't manage myself. I'm like, what? This isn't like me. I did some basic testing and I found 2 things. One, my brain was operating like a 7-year-old. In other words, I didn't have my resources. And I think any woman who's been sleep deprived from children and stuff knows what that's like. And then the
Yeah.
second element is I was deficient in a key element called magnesium. And I was like, well, I'm taking magnesium. How's that possible? And so that led us to go deep into the research to show the neurophysiological regulatory elements. It's a fancy way to say how well reserved you are from a mineral element to make sure that you can go into that rest and relax state. So if you're in chronically overreacting or not able to control something, there's both a psychological perception and a physiological. And it turns out a lot of these elements are physiological. It's not that person's fault. They will not get this information from a psychologist or a therapist or anything. Elements, they might be going through all that stuff, but still aren't able to regulate it. Chances are there's a physiological element, and magnesium is one of those elements. So we went out and manufactured the greatest magnesium that was ever produced. We have a microbiology lab in Bosnia that allowed us to do that. And it turns out that you can't just have one magnesium because it's involved in over 300 different processes in the body, including putting yourself in a rest and relax state, including opening up the what's called vasodilation, improving oxygen and blood flow to the brain, which gets restricted in a suboptimal state, as well as providing the neurotransmitters that allow you to produce enough serotonin that makes you feel calm, relaxed, and connected. And so when we started doing that, all of a sudden we had all of these moms hitting us up out of the blue saying, man, I feel so much better. I'm feeling a whole lot easier. And I don't know why. Your magnesium's a God-saving element. And I was like, well, that was really great because it fulfilled our mission to make as much difference in millions of people's lives around the world.
Thank you. Um, why do you need 7? Why do you need 7 different kinds of magnesium? What are
That's a
they?
great question. So if you go back to the original research, which I looked into, what's called orthomolecular psychology, which was developed by two-time Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Linus Pauling, Dr. Abram Hoffer, and Dr. David Hawkins. I'm a student of David Hawkins, who wrote some of the greatest books, I think, on psychology for the layman. He's got a book called Power versus Force, a whole series that comes after that, and then another one called Letting Go. I think those Letting Go is a really game changer, but his map of consciousness goes into addressing these things. But going back to the research in the 70s, they started developing high dose nutritional protocols to treat psychiatric conditions that were only treated through cognitive behavioral therapy, psychoanalysis, and medication, because they said that wasn't enough. And they found that if they addressed some of the suboptimal nutritional elements, many of these conditions actually reversed, either in concordance with or without even the other elements. And so there was a percentage of these cases that were just completely nutritional based. Now, what they developed was a methodology of doing high dosages of these vitamins and minerals until they hit what they called breaking the GI barrier, which is a fancy name for getting the runs, which means that your body cannot absorb sufficient amount of that nutrient at that dosage. So they would titrate down, that's lower the dosage, to get a delivery of the effective amount of product to that person that would offset the deficiency that had built up over the course of a lifetime. And any woman that goes through having having children, you just touched on it earlier. They're creating a massive exhaust in order to provide as much nutrients, and they might have been okay or they're just on the edge, but the children push them over that because then they just don't have the physiological reserve. So when we looked at that, the problem when you start taking in single forms of magnesium is the amount of magnesium you can get into the system. You break the GI barrier soon. Also, there is a theory out there, this is not proven, but it's certainly a theory, that if you use different strains of magnesium, because of the molecular weight or size, they seem to be able, number one, you can get more into the body, you don't get the runs quickly. Second thing is that you're able to deliver it to other elements of the body that some wouldn't get to. So we're doing research, like, for example, some magnesium gets delivered into the brain, some gets delivered into the bloodstream, some gets delivered into the heart, some gets delivered. And it would seem, and we're going to prove this probably in the next 24 months, that a plethora of the different magnesium types has a far better and far ranging effects to treat where magnesium is needed holistically through the system. Because again, 300 plus different processes in the body. And guess what? Regardless of the diet strategy that you employ in North America, you are not going to be able to get sufficient amounts of magnesium from diet alone. And it's just because of the way our food is raised and the way everything has, and agricultural elements that just stripped away magnesium from the diet. So people start taking a couple caps of magnesium a day, and all of a sudden their ability to self-regulate improves.
Awesome. That is fascinating and makes some sense. Um, I've noticed that first of all, I started my coaching career as a fertility coach.
Oh, wow.
I help women balance their hormones, and most of the time that means raising progesterone levels and decreasing estrogen levels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was never able to get progesterone levels regularized up to normal
Mm-hmm.
levels until I found your product, Magnesium Breakthrough. That was the first time that the other strategies that I used were fulfilled, were completed, and we actually got progesterone levels to full optimal amounts. And personally, when I was on progesterone during my second pregnancy, I felt happier. I slept so much deeper. I was just I was more peaceful. I was more regulated. And then with a subsequent pregnancy, I had discovered Magnesium Breakthrough, and I didn't need to go on progesterone. And I experienced the same thing. I slept deeper. I felt happier. I felt more regulated. So to me, that was a powerful testimony to that's at least one pathway that your product is supporting. And I have used other magnesiums, just like you were like, I was taking magnesium and I was deficient in magnesium, right? So I am very grateful for, I don't know if there are specific strains or if it's that variety that is so helpful.
We have done in our research about uptake in the blood and the cellular levels, because we have the ability to research that most supplement companies don't. We do see a dramatic improvement in the amount that's being delivered. And I do believe that there's another element that's involved here. That's if you go to electromagnetic pollution, EMFs, it would seem that people who are subjected to high EMF areas are also would need well above what is recommended, your RDA allowances on magnesium. The other thing is if they're taking in a lot of caffeine, and there could be other medications that could be used. And then where a hormone state is another factor, because hormones are accelerants and they really offset maybe suboptimal nutritional conditions. I'll give you an example, like in the professional bodybuilding ranks, a lot of people take anabolic hormones in order to make their muscles grow more, but that accelerates other deficiencies and they start developing deficient-based diseases or other chronic issues because the hormones are augmenting their natural state. So the role between hormones and high quality nutrition is very profound. So it's really nice to hear your story around that. That's really cool.
Can you touch on a little bit more about how magnesium breakthrough supports sleep?
Yes. So my business partner actually has struggled. He's got a genetic condition, which is through his family, that disrupts the sleep cycle significantly. So he's spent a tremendous amount of money, time, and research trying to resolve this issue for both himself and other people. So if you go into a sleep cycle, it goes through a variety of parameters. Some of the impacts that would affect sleep are lighting, temperature, the your bed situation, right?
Okay.
So generally people respond better to a cooler environment, a bed that is suited for their spine, so they're not getting heat spots or pressure points that wake them up. The types of lighting and exposure to blue light, particularly before bed, can disrupt the circadian rhythm. So you need to get in the right circadian rhythm, which we're supposed to work on light, and we have all these extra lights and blue lights, which really disrupt that. Second, if the temperature is in an area that's a right element for you, and then the physiological points. But then let's get into the bio, like, so I would address those issues first and foremost for anyone. But one of the elements of sleep disruption is your ability to take your body from a stimulated state to a non-stimulated state. And when you're dealing with all of the pressures of family raising, this can often get that cycle going where you're running through your head at the end of the night and you can't shut down, right? And that process means that you're in this fight or flight adrenal cortisol release, which is the inversion of what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be in a rest, relax, a little bit of GABA production on side of that. And these are all related to neurochemical states that magnesium is a key element in providing the neurotransmitters to put you in a well-rested, relaxed state going into bed. So a lot of people would do like a magnesium salt bath. And the challenge with the magnesium salt bath, it's the warm water and the temperature variance when you come out of that water, as well, there's some benefits from the magnesium, but you're not absorbing that magnesium. When you actually put magnesium into the body, it has a much accelerated effect because it can get into the brain and then reset that synaptic setting, if you will, because we have like what's called the valgus nerve that goes down from the brain into the gut. So if you're eating late, bright light, this disrupts that with your microbiome. So poor digestion contribute to it. When you have poor digestion, you have to realize that magnesium is a key element that works with our microbiome to produce all of these neurotransmitters. For example, serotonin, which is an element that connection is produced extensively along with oxytocin with children, is dependent on having the right microbiome, and the right microbiome being able to transfer those key nutrients. Like, for example, serotonin is 95% of it's in the gut, right? And if you don't have those elements, and when you add magnesium, we've proven this in the microbiology lab, when you add magnesium, your bacteria start to produce a whole host of other elements that we require in order to optimize our functionality, including the relaxation response, which is directly connected to the gut-brain axis. So that, hamster brain kind of thing is correlated with gut digestion and the inability to make those neurotransmitters that allow us to calm down, turn the brain off, get to sleep properly. And so setting that pattern and setting that sequence that's right for each person, and then magnesium becomes a way to augment that process.
Thank you for all those insights and tips. That's a lot more detailed. That's really helpful. Are there any other ways in which magnesium in general, or your product in particular, might support us when we're struggling with those patterns of anger, those temptations to anger?
Well, you're looking at, there's a couple other elements too. It's involved in blood sugar regulation. So if you look at the psychological literature, that dysregulation of blood sugar actually is a triggering mechanism. So for females in particular, they're much more sensitive to blood sugar disruption. So if your diet's not solid, that you're getting key amounts of nutrients, and sometimes it's very hard. Like you're carrying a child and you got another one running around and you're doing the one-arm bandit thing. Oftentimes you'll go for quick and easy snacks that maybe aren't so great for you and may cause high spikes in blood sugar, which give you that burst of energy, but then it has the correlative crash. Magnesium helps in the blood sugar regulation inside of the body. It's a key element to it. There's some great research around a number of cultures who are more susceptible to magnesium deficiencies and spikes in blood sugar. I think any female is certainly within that category, or most. The other element is the muscle cramping. So magnesium is the relaxation molecule. If you contract your bicep, you are relaxing your tricep. And in order to relax the tricep properly, it requires magnesium to cross these channels to create the relaxation response. Any tension, so anyone that does meditation, often will pre-start a meditation by removing the tension within the body, because any muscular tension in the body creates a neurotransmitter, like creates a center. This is a stimulatory effect, and that doesn't allow the body to get in the rest and relax state. And for women, they're much more sensitive to external threats or tension within the body. These are cues within our normal physiology and brain chemistry to say, hey, this isn't safe. I need to be protected. I'm not okay. And that can prevent the sleep element. So magnesium, again, serves a tertiary response to making sure that you can reduce muscle tension, like restless leg syndrome or muscle cramps or a lot of aching. So many people just take magnesium and all these things start to go away, because now they're getting the proper communication in their nervous system to actually rest and recover. And that gets you better reserved in order to not have as frequent or even eliminate those anger outbreaks.
Wow, thank you. So many reasons that we should be checking into magnesium generally. And you would say it, but I will say it for you. It's definitely, specifically, magnesium breakthrough is more effective. It's going to support more powerfully these different pathways.
That's what the world's been telling us. We're the fastest growing magnesium brand, I think, on the market today. And there's a reason for it. Number one, if you've tried a magnesium and you try our product, you're going to see the difference. You're going to feel the difference. In fact, we guarantee it with 100% guarantee. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So people try it, they'll be impressed.
Wade, it's been an honor. You definitely understand what moms go through. I think maybe even better than moms understand what moms go through. So thank you for your perceptiveness and all the challenges that we have and that we juggle, and for your work in your business to support yourself and to support your clients and to support us in living an optimal life.
Well,
Do you
thank
have
you
any
so much.
final
I really
thoughts?
appreciate it. Well, you know what? First off, I want to give a shout out to all the moms out there. You are the creators of the future. And, I see the challenges firsthand with my own family and my wife, who has to address all these issues. And of course, a long list of clients and friends and all of the variations that can happen in an individual life. At the end of the day, it's the greatest work in the world to be a mom and to bring a new child into the world and to set them on their pace. And I think the world will be a better place when we start to recognize the contribution that mothers make to society. And I know it's an equal opportunity world, but if you look at, there's a lot of women that can do men's jobs, but there's no man that can have a child. And the elements that go into child rearing are significant. They're extreme. They're very selfless in the nature. And just a big salute out to all the moms out there. I had a great mom. I was really lucky. And if I can help anybody be a great mom and do the best job in the world, I think we're contributing to the society of the future. And that's our job here as humans on the planet.
Wade, thank you so much. It has been a privilege to listen to you speak and share your knowledge. And thank you for your product. It has definitely, I've already said it, been a game changer for me and for my family. So I hope a lot more moms get to experience that too.
Thanks so much, Lucy.
Take care.